My husband is faithful only because he is obligated to do so. My husband I have been together for 12 years. We are both 30 and I could not imagine my life without him. We have 4 beautiful kids and he's just the best father to them. We had a very rocky start in our marriage just like any other couple. It was rough. But even with the years between us, I started to notice my husband wasn't happy. As in, he wasn't happy being with me. So one night after the lights were off, the kids asleep and we were in bed, I finally had the courage to bring it up to him and I opened up about it. He actually surprised me by unleashing everything he'd been holding back from me. He's kind of reserved most of the time, it's how he's always been. Now I'm a hothead to be honest, and listening to it all without getting angry was very hard for me. He told me he thought we had gotten married too young and sometimes he wished we could just have separated, but the only thing that made him stay was he couldn't bear to see another man raising his kids had I decided to start dating someone else. He even went as far as telling me he fantasized about girls at work because they were always attracted to him. He's a very attractive man, and he was especially attracted to a very close cousin of mine, who is married with kids. His biggest fantasy is having a damn threesome. But he's never acted out on any of his thoughts because he knows he's married and that he loved me and the kids still, but just not in the way I wanted him to love me. I listened quietly to him in the dark without a single interruption. That's a first, but at the same time I was deeply hurt. I was silently crying, which he didn't know, and just hurt and sad and heartbroken all at the same time. Just so many emotions. I just felt so betrayed, but for some reason I ended up being the one apologizing for not being a better wife, I suppose. After the talk, he said he felt so much better that I allowed him to open up without any criticizing or nagging and that he wishes I could be more open like that. This has happened about a month ago. And to be honest, I haven't been the same since it's happened. I've been a complete wreck and just so devastated while he's just been happy-go-lucky and telling me he's felt like our relationship has changed for the better. But deep down I'm miserable. I've been miserable since that talk. Been miserable since realizing that I am just someone he settled for because we have kids together and that he could just one day have an affair behind my back and leave me. I don't know. I guess what I'm looking for on here is not for a space to just vent, but also to hear from anyone who is going through something similar or just has any kind of advice or suggestion that could help steer me in the right direction. Do I continue to be supportive and act as if nothing or his thoughts happened and not make a big deal, or should I put my big girl pants on and leave? I just don't know what to do. I just don't know anyone I could love the way I love this man. Just sucks. As a standard Reddit answer, you too should seek couples counseling if you are interested in making things work. A month ago you listened to his issues, now it's time you guys sit down and he hears you out. Y'all need couples therapy. BC, he wasn't wrong in telling what he feels, but you're also not wrong for feeling the way you feel. Reddit is not the place to get your answer. Go to couples therapy and figure it out. Monogamy and marriage are choices. I too have been with my spouse since I was young, and because of it have missed out on a lot of experiences I wish I could have had, and so did my spouse. However, we care more about our relationship and each other than we do our fantasies and are incredibly happy together. This doesn't mean I'm not sad about what I missed out on or that I'm trying to have an affair each time I come across someone who flirts with me. This means I choose my husband each and every day, and continue to choose him because this is the decision I made and the one that has enriched my life more than any other. Your husband has kept choosing you. That being said, you two have serious communication issues and those need to be addressed with a professional. I'm so sorry, Op. Just to add my thoughts, I suspect he only feels better because he has finally told the truth. But I don't think it will last and then you will both be miserable. Also, I think your husband is really cruel. He could have done this differently. And no, he doesn't get an award for not cheating. Another young marriage in trouble. And no, everyone's marriage isn't rocky at the beginning. If you both had dealt with this earlier and gotten counseling, maybe things could be better. But I don't see how you can come back from everything he said, and he must have no empathy at all for him to feel so much better about telling you all of this and not even think about your feelings. He could say sometimes he thought about having sex with other women without going into details of which coworker has a crush on him. As some said, you can go ahead and get counseling, but I think this marriage is over. I would never be able to sleep with him again. Do you really want to be with someone who admitted that he's only with you because he feels like he has to? I know people tend to say, staying together for the kids is best. But the truth is they will be much worse off with parents who resent each other and staying together just for the sake of it because the kids will notice something is wrong sooner or later. You and them deserve much better than that. I'd rather my parents split up and were happy with other people or even on their own than stay together just for the sake of it and make themselves and everyone around them miserable. I would recommend couples counseling ASAP, but it sounds like he's only there for the kids, not you. TBH, it would not surprise me if he ended up having an affair, asked for an open marriage, or promptly divorce you once the children are older. Get your personal finances in order and CV up to date. I'd recommend counseling too. But individual, for you. I'd also consult a lawyer, just in case. You may need it in the future and you don't want to be blindsided. Then couples counseling if you think this relationship is salvageable. You said he is basically staying with you, because of the children, but it's not even that he wants to be in their lives as a full-time parent or that it will be difficult for you to raise them, or that he wants his kids to grow in a full family. His reasoning is that he doesn't want another man to raise them. That's unsettling, at least for me. Boyfriend wants to send me pics of cute girls. My 19F boyfriend, 21M, used to send me pictures of cute women. At first I didn't mind it, but after a while he would send them every day, even in the middle of important conversations. Example: he had to cancel a date I had planned for 2 weeks because he forgot it was his grandmother's birthday. I was texting him trying to reschedule things and he sent me a picture of a girl and a text saying, "hot." Then it obviously started pissing me off. I find it a bit degrading and I don't like that he is always sending them, so I told him to stop. Which he did. For a month. Then he would occasionally show me a girl and I would be a bit annoyed and tell him I don't like it and he would jokingly mock me. Today he sent me another girl. I wasn't upset. The comment wasn't degrading, it was just saying that she was cute. Which she is. And there was context behind it. Later on I got upset because of some family issues, and he was asking me what was wrong. I didn't feel like talking about it. It's about my father going to prison again and I just need time to think before sharing. He asked me if it was because of the girl in the pic and I said no. Then he said he is always scared of sending me girls and that there are other cute women other than me and that he likes sending them. I haven't answered him cause I honestly don't know how. How do you answer this? I have said it makes me upset several times, sad face. Then he ended the message by saying, "I love you and no one else." Which just pissed me off even more. Sorry for tiny vent. Why does he send them to you in the first place? Are you too polyamorous? I'm so confused as to why he sends them at all, especially if you have complained about it in the past. Based on this and your other posts, I think this dude is trying to plant the seeds to get you to do a threesome. Might sound like a weird theory, but if I had to guess, this is his goal. He sounds like a tool. I would have been spamming him back with pictures of much more attractive men. I've been in a rather similar situation. He would send me pictures of models he found attractive even after I told him to stop. I'm not quite sure why guys do this, maybe it's a validation thing. I sent him a picture of a guy the first found attractive just to see what he would say and he was livid. Things just got worse from there. He'd call me to tell me about girls he'd see whilst out, etc. I ended it shortly after. I waited way too long, by the way, and I think you should do. He clearly has no respect for you and your feelings, and he's shown that and doesn't really seem to care. You deserve someone better. Dude, tell him to stop or leave him. That's unbelievably shitty and I'm astonished that he's acknowledging anyone who isn't you as attractive. What a poss. It seems as though there's a blurred boundary between you as his friend and you being his girlfriend. There shouldn't be any reason to constantly talk about someone else's looks. You could either explain how it'd feel if he was in your shoes and you constantly send him photos of other guys talking them up. If you sent him a pic of a hottie right now and said, "Cute," what do you think his response would be? He needs to see that line drawn either way. 37. F. It sounds a bit like either he wants your constant validation and approval for finding other women attractive, or he's trying to get a jealous reaction out of you, to see how much you care, which obviously is not a good measure at all. A male perspective would be good, but honestly the only way you'll ever find out exactly why he does it is to discuss it with him further, and communicate with him how you're feeling. This can be the hardest part of a relationship, especially the less experience you have. I would nip it in the bud now, before it snowballs into a bigger issue. Who are the women he's sending you? Like people he knows personally or Instagram models? Either way it's definitely not okay and you need to tell him to stop. My girlfriend just hit me. She slapped me across the face because she was upset that I didn't get up in a sufficient time for a dinner reservation, which, normally would be an okay reason to be upset. But she just fucking hit me. Then, she implied that it was justified because apparently I hit her once 2 years ago in a situation I don't necessarily doubt but I absolutely don't remember? Slapping turns into punching and punching turns into kicking. Leave. Do you really deserve to be hit by anyone for any reason? Dump her. You let this slide and she'll keep pushing until you break or fight back. Gotta go bro. You'll be the one leaving in cuffs if it ever escalates. Bye Felicia. No one hits baby. Okay, break up. One question though, did you hit her or did you not? And how in hell do you not remember? Hitting is abuse. You need to leave her. By the way, hitting her should be something you'd never do in a million years, so there should be zero doubt in your mind about whether it actually happened. 1. She gaslighting you and try to justifying her abuse. Yes, it is abuse no matter who hit or slap you, it's still not okay and right. 2. Talk with her, say, I am not okay with you slap me and I will not accept any excuses for it. If she says you hit her once 2 years ago you wouldn't forget it because something like that is not easy to forget. Maybe couple therapy or a break-up. Wish ya still luck 4-leaf clover. I feel like someone opened the curtains and for the first time I can see my marriage is failing. I feel like my 29M and my wife 28F marriage is falling apart or maybe just held together by a string. I feel like the relationship is very toxic. It all started yesterday when I was talking to my therapist. I brought up about having trust issues and wanting to fix them because I'm worrying about irrational things. Well, we talked for a while and made me realize all these issues I have stem from early childhood trauma and emotional abuse and that I should log the memories down as a way to confront them and rationalize my way of thinking. Well, later that night after the kids were in bed I asked my wife if I could talk with her about these memories because all day I was in a dark place just thinking about these things over and over. I told her where these issues I have come from and that I want to work hard to rid myself of all the anxiety and irrational thinking. Her response was completely not what I expected. She told me that she has been through trauma too and that she was able to get over it. Why can't I just get over it? I said I don't understand why you're comparing me to yourself, everyone is different, and I just made the connection to my issues. She then said that she's had a bad upbringing and she's able to act like an adult. I don't understand this. I'm breadwinner, I do dishes, fold clothes, help make dinner, clean, make my own appointments. I'm literally making the adult choice to see the therapist and better myself. After that she said she just doesn't let herself feel emotions much. I told her doing that is very unhealthy and in turn you're hurting me. It really made me realize we have literally no emotional connection at all. The emotion I get from her a majority of the time is anger. Furthermore, I realized we don't even have any common interests. I just keep wondering, was it this way all this time and I just never realized? She literally makes me feel like even if I was completely perfect she would find something to gaslight me about. I've tried to get her to agree to marriage counseling but she flat out refuses, saying that we don't have time to fit it into our schedule, but we really do have the time. I just don't understand what steps I should take next. I do love my wife but most of the time I feel like she hates me. Update: I wanted to thank everyone for the advice. I'm going to post another update later that should add some more detail to everything going on. Again, thank you all for the advice and sharing your own experiences. Update: I've thought about it and there is no clear way to put into words the intricacies of our relationship. Honestly, only we two will ever understand it since we lived it, but I wanted to give some more detail into daily life and maybe answer some of the questions that have been asked. I put one child to bed and she puts the other to bed. I take the kids to school every day and pick them up 50% of the time. I work third shift, which means I only average 5 hours of sleep a day because I'm picking them up half the time. She is getting around 8 to 10 hours of sleep a day. The only thing I expected was her to say everything is gonna be okay. I would have been completely happy with that. I try and do so much to make my wife happy, even if it means sacrificing my own well-being. I'm not looking for her to be my supporter, I'm just looking for some kind of empathy at all. It doesn't matter what the situation is, the empathy isn't there. Here's an example. Last month my uncle I was close to died. I was very upset because of this and she didn't show any kind of empathy toward me at all, basically ignored that it happened and that I was depressed because of it. She also gaslighted me about how I missed a half day of work because I went to the hospital to see him before he passed that night, and to clarify, we aren't having any financial issues and I'm in good standing with the company I work for and they were very understanding. I'm not trying to force anything on her. The only thing I've done is give recommendations based on what I've seen. I can't control her and that's not what I'm looking to do. The only thing I want is to be able to share how I feel without being gaslighted and maybe just get some kind of emotional connection between us instead of just indifference. As for my trust issues, they used to be a problem between us, but for the last 4 years I've never mentioned it being an issue or even shown it to be through my actions. The thoughts have always been there and caused me a lot of anxiety, but I just masked it all because I knew it was unhealthy to act upon it. But recently I decided I needed to get a hold on this way of thinking and make myself better. I'm not here to put my wife on blast. She is an amazing mother and does whatever she can for our kids. She is a stay-at-home mom mostly because our 2-year-old was diagnosed with hydrocephalus at the age of 7 months old and needed brain surgery. Luckily he is making huge strides in his development, and I hugely believe it's due to my wife because she is able to stay home and help with his therapy. I don't believe my wife is a bad person at all. The only thing I want is to strengthen our emotional connection for our relationship and for our kids. If I've missed any questions, please let me know and I'll try to respond. I think it's too soon to make any decision about these matters. Take your time and don't be too harsh on her or on you. It sounds like she's afraid you will trigger her with your confessions. You should really confess this to your therapist. Maybe your wife has gotten through it, or maybe she's just shoving it down inside, but she is not your therapist. Your comments may trigger her into a breakdown. Just schedule a counseling session and get started. First of all, I'm so sorry she downplayed your feelings, which are valid. Honestly, I think if she's not willing to attend therapy for her own issues, the relationship has probably run its course. The process of trauma recovery is not linear and it takes years if not decades without the right interventions and proper tools. I also highly suggest finding a trauma-specific therapist if you can find one. Game changer. If she can't support you when you need her the most and then turns around and gaslights you but refuses to change, there's no future. You deserve a future. It seems like she has some unresolved issues within herself. For her to say she had a bad upbringing and she now got over her trauma, I feel like she is in a more worse place than you. Dealing with your trauma and completely getting over it are two different things. I have been dealing with my trauma for years and not once has my husband told me to get over it. People who truly care about you will make the time for you. Even if that means marriage counseling, therapy. Always remember that. I had to learn that the hard way. Your therapist gave you a plan on how to handle repetitive irrational thoughts. Repeating negative thoughts verbally does no good and can make them more intense, especially if you are doing it to gain a positive emotional affirmation from a loved one. Instead, you asked your wife to be junior therapist, something your therapist never suggested. Why didn't you just do as you agreed with your therapist? This really resonates with me. Hold strong, get help, post your results. She flat out refuses, saying that we don't have time to fit it into our schedule. Would divorce fit in your schedule? Because that's pretty much where we are.